The first time I saw Amur falcons, I couldn't believe my eyes. I'd never seen so many birds of prey in one place. It was an incredible... But at the same time, I also saw something deeply distressing. The little birds were being trapped and slaughtered by the thousands. Clearly, there was no time to lose. We had to act immediately to stop the massacre and save the falcons. The capture or killing of Amur falcons. But the scale of it was absolutely shocking. Tens of thousands slaughtered every year during their annual migratory stopover. About the size of a kestrel, the Amur falcon is one of the smallest and prettiest birds of prey. The females and juveniles are light grey above with streaked underparts. Adult males are a darker grey with rufous-colored thighs. These little raptors feed almost exclusively on insects and collectively consume billions of them. But what's even more remarkable is the extraordinary journey they undertake every winter in search of food. Flying from their breeding grounds in northern China and southern Russia, they travel all the way to South Africa, where they stay for a few months before heading back. This round trip of over 22,000 kilometers is the longest known migration by any bird of prey. One of the main staging posts for this incredible cross-continental journey is Nagaland, my home, in India's far northeast. The falcons rest here for a few weeks before flying non-stop to Africa. Although I had heard reports of Amurs migrating through my state,
learned about Amur falcons and was keen to bunches of dead ones being taken for sale in the local markets.
The surroundings, we saw thousands of falcons perched on high-tension wires across the Doyang Valley. And as we finally reached the reservoir, we were amazed to see tens of thousands more. Tearing ourselves away from this astonishing sight, we headed to the nearest village to try and learn about the extent of hunting. On the way, we met many hunters carrying hundreds of live falcons. At lakeside shacks, falcons were being plucked and prepared for a barbecue. It was heartbreaking to watch the beautiful birds in the trees one moment and see their stripped carcasses the next. When we finally reached Pangti village, there were more horrors in store. Everyone seemed to be involved in the Amur falcon massacre, even the children. Every house we entered seemed to have falcons, alive, dead, or dying.
Hunters were actually fishermen who normally eked out a living by fishing in the Doyang River. But soon after the Doyang Dam was built in the year 2000, the falcons started congregating around the reservoir in huge numbers for reasons we don't fully understand. To the impoverished fishermen, this seemed like a heaven-sent opportunity to make some extra money, and they modified their fishing nets to trap the birds.
Throughout the day, the falcons are in flight or perched way up on electrical lines and out of reach. But every evening they fly down to roost on trees around the reservoir. Taking advantage of this behavior, the fishermen erected large vertical nets near the trees, capturing the birds as they flew in and out of the roost. Every morning the trappers returned to harvest the thousands of falcons caught in the nets. The cruelty inflicted on the dainty birds was unbearable to watch. Making inquiries, we learned that 70 trapping teams were operating in the area and had deployed about 700 nets near roosting trees. On an average, about 12,000 birds were being captured every day during the peak migratory season. This was clearly not subsistence hunting, but an organized commercial operation supplying other regions of Nagaland too. Even our most conservative calculation was alarming. At least 120,000 were being harvested every season from this one area alone. Most of us blindly believe that indigenous communities always harvest their natural resources with restraint and wisdom. But the sad truth is, when commerce and profit entered the picture, no one seemed to care about sustainability. Horrified, it was time to put a stop to this illegal harvest. Down. Around this time, for the rest of the 2012 season. Something had to be done to protect the migrating birds in the long term. That the falcon hunts were bringing a bad name to Nagaland. But the greatest breakthrough came about when the local fishermen decided to give up hunting falcons. Despite the loss of the extra money they made every winter, they banded together to set up an roosting area union, and they dispatched one of their members to the spot immediately. The falcons were freed and the net was removed. This is a heartwarming example of how former falcon hunters have taken ownership of their new role as protectors.
The mass killings of falcons back in October 2012, I wondered if a decade-long practice could be stopped. But the most crucial of all was the cooperation of the local community, particularly the fishermen. Their resolve to stop the falcon hunts helped bring the curtain down on one of the most horrific massacres in India's conservation history.
In a world where conservation success stories are increasingly rare, the campaign to save the Amur falcon has had a positive impact, and we are seeing larger and larger numbers arriving every year.